What should be the role between the Indian state, its officialdom, and religion? And how should we respond as secular, pluralistic citizens to the demonstration of religion in shared public spaces? I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. Our deep focus today is on these images that many of us see in North India, the Kavar Yatra, the annual yatra of Shiv devotees that has become a feature of our lives. However, this time viral videos are grabbing the headlines as police and district level officials are seen showering the Kanwariyas with rose petals. In fact, in certain places, helicopters and choppers have been deployed. You can see those images on your screen where the choppers are literally raining flowers on these Shiv devotees. Now, this in itself is not happening for the first time. It happens frequently. This, as I said, is an annual feature. The Chief Minister of UP himself is overseeing arrangements. All good so far, but perhaps these images have attracted public attention for two reasons. One, the involvement of police officials, and secondly, these images of people offering namaz in public spaces that have now become the subject of ferocious controversy with a recent episode in Lucknow where a mall actually saw it prohibiting prayers in its premises and the police filing an FIR. So, is the state responding with double standards in one way to the demonstration of one faith and in another way to the namaz? Or is that like comparing apples and oranges? What do you think? Do keep your comments coming in as we introduce our distinguished panel today of diverse ideological opinions, which is what we always attempt here at the Mojo Story. Let me introduce our guest today, Mohandas Pai, educationist, industrialist, commentator is with us. Welcome, Mohan. Always great to see you. Sherbir Panag, lawyer, commentator is with us. Great to see you, Sherbir. Professor Irfan Habib, one of our best respected historians, is with us. Good to see you, sir. Also joining us, PKD Nambiar, political analyst, businessman, commentator. Good to see you, PKD. And joining us today for the first time is Sanjeev Gupta. Mr. Gupta has a very interesting thread on these issues on his Twitter timeline. Mr. Gupta has been former secretary in the government of India in the Home Ministry. So welcome everybody. And as I said, this image of the Kavar Yatra, the Kanwariyas, has become an annual feature of our public life. And we've even got used to them going for 1 month in the year down the highways. Let's play some of those images. And it would not have attracted much attention were it not perhaps for the immediate sort of juxtaposition, the juxtaposition that we've seen, and also the fact that police officials and local administrative officers, IAS officers, have been involved this time in showering these Kanwariyas with flower petals. So, Mohandas Pai, let me start with you. The obvious question would be, of course, these devotees have every right to their religious belief, but should the police and the government officers, the IAS officers, be involved in welcoming them, in showering petals on them?
You know, Barkha, the Indian state is a state of contradictions. You know, Dr. Ranganathan tweeted that they manage 1,14,000 Hindu temples, getting 7,200 crores revenue. The Indian state spent on Hajj pilgrimage and now is coming down after the Supreme Court. They have created Hajj bhavans all over the place. They make sure they make special arrangements for all people to go on pilgrimages. A state in South India gives money monthly to pastors. This pastor is a new category of people, and they're giving money for going on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. So there is a lot of contradiction in the state, and a part of the population, the Muslims, follow their personal laws, whereas 79% of the people have to follow laws which are different. And the personal laws go against Article 14 and 19 because they discriminate against women. So this is a state of contradiction that is there in the Indian state, because the founding fathers sought to compromise on many things in the hope of creating a better society. So I think you should let it be. I mean, they will shower flower, they will help them out, they will do everything, provide security, like the yatra when they go in North India, in Kashmir, when they go for the yatra. In the south, we have the Ayyappas. Ayyappas go on a long pilgrimage walking to the forest in Kerala. And I think these are all the things that make India what it is. So I don't know why some people in North India are getting agitated about officials throwing some petals. Hardly makes any difference. Next time there is a somebody praying for any Eid festival, let them go and throw petals too. What does it matter? Why are people getting agitated? I'm very surprised. This is India,
Okay.
is a land of contradictions. And why should there be temples managed by the state? No country in the world manages religious places except for China. We don't see any other country managing, right? Even Russia doesn't manage. The Russian Orthodox Church manages. So why are some people in Delhi getting agitated?
Let me say this to you. You've given some very very good examples, and in fact, when I was researching for this program, I relearned the fact that there are many states in India that actually give money to temple boards. Kerala and Tamil Nadu among them. Your home state of Karnataka gives money to churches. There is a state of Bengal where imams get a salary from the state, and there are all kinds of these contradictions. The Hajj subsidy has, as you said, ended because of the Supreme Court order of 2012. But Mr. Pai, how do we not juxtapose this with what is happening with the recent debate over the namaz in public spaces? I understand that the namaz is 5 times a day and the cover yatra is a few
Barkha,
weeks in a year. But
Barkha,
doesn't the
the
juxtaposition
yatra,
seem striking to
Barkha,
you? Yeah.
Barkha, Barkha, the yatra is a one-time event in the year. For example, in Eid in Bangalore, some streets are blocked up because a lot of people gather. I mean, this is a normal thing, but this prayer is every week they occupy public places. That should not be allowed. It should not become a regular feature, an annual feature, like people go for a pilgrimage. They go for a pilgrimage in Maharashtra for Pandapur. That's all fine. It has been happening for so many years. This namaz in the street is a recent thing. It has not been happening for 50, 100, 150, 200 years. It's just some people coming there. Maybe, I don't know why. Maybe they have a shortage of place to pray. Maybe they're doing it politically. Maybe they instigate. I don't know. But there's a regular feature. Regular feature should not be allowed. For example, the CAA agitation which occupies streets, that is blatantly illegal. That shouldn't have been allowed because the streets can be occupied for a limited period of time, but not regularly and blocked off. We must draw a line in the sand against some things which are very regular, which are very systematic. And when some things are there annually or because of festivals, and India is a land of festivals, I think it's fine.
Okay, I think I agree with you that if one saw a kind of even handed participation in all religions, if, for example, one also saw, as you suggested, next time there is an Eid celebration, let the police and the IAS officers come and shower petals on them also, it would be, it would seem that everyone is participating in each other's faiths, the more the merrier. But Professor Habib, does it seem like that? The fact is that you have this billionaire, businessman, Mr. Ali, come to Lucknow with what he says is going to be Asia's biggest mall, the Lulu Mall. And it immediately falls into controversy because a few men, we don't know who they are, go and offer namaz inside the premises. Then Hindu groups want to recite all kinds of sort of shlokas outside. And the police, by the way, is quite even handed. It makes 7 arrests with people from both religious groups. But the fact is that offering of namaz overshadowed the opening of the mall. So how do you see this debate, and how do you see this sort of the showering of rose petals by police officers, IAS officers from the skies, from the ground on the Kanwariyas?
You see, Mr. Pai just tried to explain everything in a very objective-looking manner, but I think I don't agree. I don't think IAS officers and IPS officers are supposed to participate the way they are participating. And but this Hajj subsidy, etc., I personally have been against it. I've been writing against it for so many years. Anyway, now it is over. Namaz in Lulu Mall, absolute nonsense. I don't support any of it. Why should anybody go and pray in a public space? There is no need at all. And Islam doesn't really allow you or force you to pray wherever you are, because there is a time to pray. You can always postpone it and pray a little later. No? So these are all very stupid things, and done especially during the times you are living in. We have so many controversies which come up for no reason. So, and this comparison is also unnecessary, because this Kavadiya thing is being done at a very large scale, and its state participation is at a massive scale. So there, it is not a private affair. For religion, for me, is a private space. Here, there's no private space left. It's a public participation. It's a participation by the state openly. Its officers participating, its infrastructure participating. and so it's all happening very openly, and it's okay. But namaz and such participation, both of them for me should be private things. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, whosoever they are, they should do their things themselves. Why should state come in just
When you
because
see when you
you,
see Professor Habib, the police and the IAS officers, district magistrates involved, what do you feel?
that is that is absolutely, I think it's against our constitution itself. These people were not recruited as civil servants to do this. Why are you doing this? I just don't understand. And the Kanwariyas don't need them. No, they have their own schedule. They go every year. They have been going for years.
Yeah.
So these civil servants have appeared now, last 2-3 years. No, Kavadi yatras have been happening. They have increased. The number has increased. The participation has increased. But I am from Meerut, and we know these Kanwariyas have been passing through our city for so many years, and they always used to do it peacefully. There was no hangama, nothing. But during the past few years, things have changed, as lots of other things have changed in this country. This covered character has also changed. The people
Let,
come with national flags and saffron flags together, mixing nationalism and religion. No, that makes no sense. No, why should tricolor be there? No, tricolor has a very different role. No,
okay,
you are going
that's
on
a
a religious,
yeah.
going on a
Sorry.
religious yatra. Which is fine, and
Okay,
go with saffron flags. Good.
that's a
But
new element
why
in the
national flags? No,
conversation.
national flag is for all. No,
Now,
it hardly
two
it
very
hardly
differing
makes any space in
perspectives.
that. Because it's not
Sure.
required at all.
Two very
Why should you
differing
do it?
perspectives. Let me jump in here. Two very different
Yeah.
perspectives from Mr. Pai and Professor Habib. Let me get in Mr. Sanjeev Gupta, who has been a high-ranking officer in the government, serving as secretary in the Home Ministry. Sanjeev, what do you think? There are the debate over the participation by police and district-level government officers. How do you see it, sir?
Thank you, Barkha, for having me over. Basically, the Constitution of India, when it added secularism, it had a different version of secularism than what was there in France, which is la recite, or what is there in US. It was to give equal treatment to all religions. Whereas in France, it is absence of religion from public sphere. So much so you can't even wear a hijab, or you can't have any religious symbol in schools. And a relatively moderate version between the two is US, where you can display your religious beliefs, but at the same time, state is agnostic of religion. They don't have 22 holidays like we have. They have only one religious holiday, that is Christmas, and everything else is left to the people, 5 holidays each. Having said that, in our constitution, because a lot of issues have come about managing the religious institutions and expression of religion and practicing religion. If you see Article 25, it is about freedom to practice and propagate religion. Article 26 is about freedom to manage your religious affairs. Now, Article 26 is subject to Article 25, and hence, way back in 1951, in the Shirur Mutt case, the Supreme Court held, and that is respected till now, that state can make laws regarding management of religious affairs, and that's where you have committees like Ajmer Sharif Committee, which is primarily a Muslim thing, Haji Ali Dargah, again a state law. You have a lot of state governments where management is done by the governments through the deputy commissioners, but the money always remains confined to the trust where it belongs. Coming to the specific issue, which was, I got this email, it was about the Kanwariyas and this Namaz. I was distressed. In fact, there should be no appeasement and there should be no harassment. Somebody, an IAS officer of 3 years seniority, CDO of Gorakhpur, his gate was closed because that bungalow was vacant. A poor Muslim man who had come for treatment of his son, he offers namaz in front of the gate, thinking that this place is closed, and he's hounded like crazy. the entire media trial is happening. Similarly, in Charbagh station. At the same time, there are extremes where people are occupying public spaces, like Professor Irfan Habib talked about mall in Lucknow. That's absolutely not done. And we have another example of Gurgaon, where Muslims are occupying public spaces. But I had verified that it was with oral consent of local administration, because Muslims are running short of space for offering the namaz due to
Yeah.
various reasons in Gurgaon.
So you're
So,
saying you're saying there's a middle
Yeah.
ground possible. There's a middle ground possible that is humane, even-handed, and just here. My question, very briefly, before I go to Sherbir and PKD, is: do you believe the police and the district magistrate should be participating? As we saw, there's a video, I want to play it all for you, where you can see a police officer massaging the foot. There it is. Can we take the banner off, please? You can see a police officer, the banner off, please. A police officer massaging the foot of a devotee. Now, maybe he's doing this from faith. Maybe he's doing this as compassion. Maybe he's a policeman with a soft heart. I don't know. But you can't help but juxtaposing this with what's happened in the Lulu Mall. I'm not supporting, by the way, that namaz should be offered in public spaces. I'm just saying, is there a double standard? Sanjeev, quickly, and Mohan, I can see you smiling,
Yeah,
so I get a brief
there
interjection
are
from you
these
also.
are indeed double standards. I mean, I would personally say the officers' role is to manage the crowd. The officers who are showering flower petals from helicopter or otherwise, they should have been confining their attention to managing the traffic well. And it's not the job to be doing petals. Yes, temples has a lot of money, and if they want to shower petals, no issues at all. But officers should not be getting into it. And there should not be double standards. In case of Lulu Mall, the people who did namaz, which again I am opposed, in a public space without any consent, they were booked under serious laws, which is about disturbing communal harmony, Indian Penal Code provisions. Whereas people who came for your Hanuman Chalisa, they were under 107, 151 of CRPC, which is just apprehension to breach of peace. Why these double standards?
Yeah, I want to briefly go to Mohan. Sherbir and PKD have been waiting very patiently, but I could see Mr. Pai wanting to make a brief comment. Mr. Gupta has given quite a balanced perspective. This can be handled even-handedly, and police officers are there to maintain order, to assist citizens, and to control the crowd. They're not there to actually participate in any religious function. What do you think, Mr. Pai? Yeah.
Barkha, people go for iftar parties. People go for something. Why are we making a big thing of this? If some police officer, one police officer of among maybe 20 lakh police officers in this country, touches somebody's feet, does something, suddenly the whole state becomes non-secular, it becomes religious, communal. What kind of discourse is this, Barkha? Why are we globalizing one single event? Some people, doing a prayer in the Lulu Mall, okay, fine. You should tell them not to do it and forget about it, right? Instead of that, put a case, this and that. Why are we blowing up all these issues? This is not an
that
issue
I
all across
agree.
India.
I agree. I agree with you that this Lulu Mall should never have been elevated to a police case.
I didn't see any media person blowing up the issue about the Hajj pilgrimage or the pastors getting money. When it comes to the Hindu community and Hindu festivals, everybody gets agitated. Come on. We have to be very even-handed in this country. We have been one-sided so far in this country for the last 75 years. It is time that we gave everybody their rights. Why are we allowing personal laws for 15% of the population when the Constitution says the right to equality is the cornerstone of a constitution? Right to equality is not there for Muslim women. Why are we allowing religious laws?
Okay, Muslims, by the way, in these pictures are among those who are showering petals on the covers as they pass through the Kanwariyas, as they pass through.
I'm just saying, people do it. Forget it. No, I think
I know.
Bigger issues to talk about.
Okay, here's
we make a hue and cry. Oh, police officer doing it. The state is communal, like the gentleman here. I think it's totally ridiculous. Why are we exaggerating? One police officer, one DM, 10 DMs. Okay, fine. We should tell them, please don't do it. Doesn't look good. That's fine, isn't it?
But nobody's telling them that, right? They've obviously done this.
You are saying that. The gentleman is saying that is fine. I mean, why are we making it a big issue?
Okay,
as if the whole state has lost secularism.
No, we're not talking about any one state. By the way, this is happening in more than one state. It's happened in Uttarakhand. It's happened in UP. I'm sure Sanjeev will want to respond to you, but I need to get the others in. Sherbir, sorry, you and PKD have been waiting very patiently. Go ahead, Sherbir. Is it a non-issue? Is it apples and oranges, or is there a double standard in the state response, in the response of the official machinery? Sherbir, you're on mute, please. You're on mute. Yeah.
Barkha, on the few occasions that I would agree with Mr. Pai, I would say that I'll I'll agree with his initial submission that we are a country of multiple contradictions when it comes with the interaction between state and religion. I think my personal opinion and is that religion is a private matter, as Habib Saab has said. It's a private matter. It should be confined to our private lives, and the state should, at best, be fostering an environment through which we can all freely practice our religions, but at the same point of time, not become partisan to the process of or participative in the process of religion, which is unfortunately the political reality and social reality of religion stroke state politics in India, is that the lines are exceptionally blurred. Whether it be personal laws, we all have personal laws. It's not just the Muslims who have personal laws. The Hindu personal laws, to which the majority of the country is governed, has undergone significant issues in terms of issues of equality, including women not being allowed to inherit, being accessible to having equal inheritance. Let's be real about it. The Supreme Court had to step in and address this issue and clarify this issue. But that's part of evolution and part of judicial recourse. But I think coming back to this particular point, in my opinion, as far as the state is concerned, organization, health, sanitation, security for events such as this for all religions, irrespective, their support in this regard would be within the realm of the constitution to ensure that all religions have access, and we celebrate our diversity in India. Participating in it, if any officer, district magistrate wants to participate, they are most welcome to go on leave and participate and join the processions in their personal capacities. But across the board, whether it is hosting iftar and serving people, or participating in langars organized by gurdwaras, or showering petals, let religion in these matters be private matters. If a trust,
One minute, when you see a bureaucrat or a SP, which is what we saw, they're actually in the car riding alongside the Kanwariyas. Can we play that video again? Showering petals on them. This bothers you, Sherbir, or do you think it's innocuous as Mr. Pai does?
I think it's somewhere in between both, Barkha. I think it's somewhere between both. We've set a precedent where it's applicable to everybody, and therefore, even if it's being done for one religious community and not being done for the other, whether you interchange an iftar party and you interchange a langar with showering petals, they all sort of meet the same. They all meet the same genre of participation. Would I stand by and say that all should be stopped? Absolutely. But I wouldn't single this out and say that we've got, this is a marquee event that has occurred, whereby flower petals have been showered. In an ideal world, folks who want to participate, please proceed on leave. We want to shower them with petals, absolutely. Private trust, political parties, everybody. But to the extent that the state gets involved, I believe that is a matter where our lines are blurred, but in my view, should not happen.
Okay, there you can see the choppers that have been deployed in Uttarakhand to shower petals on the devotees. But I think Mr. Pai makes a very valid point in listing different states that are involved with different religions in different ways. So there is officialdom in religion in India. and there's no escaping it. But what we must therefore ask is that desirable? Is there a way to unpack it? And is it equal? Is it equal? I think that is what is the heart of this conversation. Now, Mr. Nambiar, I want to come to you. And the Hajj subsidy has been mentioned by everybody. So I think it's worth reminding our audience that there is no Hajj subsidy anymore. Let's bring up the developments on that. It was in 2012 that the Supreme Court first ordered the end of a Hajj subsidy. And basically, actually, what's interesting is that this was a two-judge bench. One of the judges, in fact, is a Muslim judge, Justice Aftab Alam. And he actually made the argument that Muslims should not be taking subsidies from governments if they want to go on the Hajj. And the Supreme Court set a 10-year upper limit. It was supposed to be phased out by 2022. However, the Modi government was able to announce the end of the Hajj subsidy much earlier in January 2018. That subsidy was gone. But I think, Mr. Nambiar, as has been listed by so many of our guests today, there are many, many other overlaps today, even in ways that most of us don't know, between officialdom, government, and religion. Is that healthy, PKD?
Well, as I always say in your shows, that being a minority in this country has always been a privilege, because you get so much of benefits. But being a majority community, and many places the Hindus are actually a minority in this country, whether it is in the Northeast, in some of the southern states. But if there is something which happens like this, then the overall there must be a large amount of questions to happen. I wanted to actually start from where Mr. Mohandas Pai ended. There are more than, I have written an article in 8 languages that all the temples should be free. And I wanted to do a show, a big program on the 8 languages. It was a very big article I have written with the full facts. Why only Hindu temples have been governed by the governments? Now, is this all money which is collected by these Devaswam boards, or in different names in which different parts? And there is no politics in it, because there are even BJP governments have also acquired temples in the government fold. So our secularism, the so-called the former the secretary on this panel was talking about the secularism and the beauty of how the government should be impartial. That is the kind of secularism we have brought in, not like the Western kind of a secularism. But where have you seen that even in this year, as we speak, which we are talking about Kawad Yatra of this season, in this year, how many states the state ministers have flagged off the Hajj inauguration in every state? Almost in every state, the minimum is the minority affairs ministers of that respective states have gone and waived off or see off or all those kind of a program which has been done in the Hajj. There was no discussion. There was not even, I'm just telling you, you just need to Google it. Since you have done a research, you will be able to find from north to south, irrespective of including the BJP.
I don't think any of us are defending the Hajj subsidy.
Yeah, and I'm saying including the BJP driven states. I'm not even talking about just the states which is the non-BJP states. But the problem is that before even that, more than 1 lakh temples are governed by the government. Why there are not even a major discussion? I approached myself to a couple of the TV channels and some of the people. I remember I sent this article to Mr. Pai also then. The idea was that nobody wanted to have a discussion on that. Is the Hindus of this country, about 100 or almost 100 crore of Hindus, don't even have the capacity and capability to manage their own temples and the places of belief system? If the Sikhs in this country, if the Christians in this country, if the Muslims in this country can manage, do you think that the Hindus in this country have no capability and capacity to manage their own belief system and their temples?
Let me put
Not
that.
even that. No. You have to give me another one. I waited for 25 minutes because this is a topic which is very close to my heart. I'll tell you another incident. Why these temples have been taken over? The Hindu temples historically are the custodian. For an example, my family temple in Kerala, which owns about 8,500 acres of land, which it's my family temple. In a way, the temple belongs to my family, and the whole land of about 8,500 acres in paper and beyond that. But the moment the government took over that, it is not the temple which they took over, they also took over the entire land. So in other words, the government has been capturing the land and the not only just the temple,
I see
the
your
entire
point.
wealth. Now, today we are a country. We have not started. This is basically to Sanjeev Gupta ji. Sir, India is not born in 1947. India has got a cultural history of 5,000 years, and that cultural history of us is clearly is a Sanatan Dharma, and that is the culture. When the Prime Minister do a Bhumi Pujan for a parliamentary building, people have questions. When the Kavod Yatra ke upar agar fool चढ़ाते हो तो problem है. नहीं, the problem is that there is an issue. No, there is an issue for some people.
Now you've spoken a lot. Now let me take up your points at least and put them to the panel. You've made a lot of passionate points. I want to bring in Sanjeev Gupta to immediately respond and then go around the panel again. Sanjeev, this issue of temple management, temple control, particularly in the south, it is a very, very big issue. In fact, it's one of those issues that is a bigger issue in the south than it is, in fact, in the north. Friends from Tamil Nadu, friends from Kerala have often raised this issue. In Tamil Nadu, we've seen the Tamil Nadu government and Sadhguru, for example, having a running public battle on this issue. How do you respond to this, of it being the ultimate example of state control over religion?
Thanks. I think Mr. Nambiar raised a very valid issue. The answer is very simple. Plenty of myths floating around. That only Hindu temples have been controlled directly or indirectly by the government. It's true that mostly it is Hindu temples which have been covered. That's true. But it has also been some Muslim establishments, like I told you, Ajmer Sharif, like I told you, Haji Ali, and I can search a few more. There is a legislative control over these institutions as well, where there's a power of supersession also of the committee. Committees are appointed by the government. The entire committee of Ajmer is appointed by the central government. Now, the point is whether the government is taking away money from here. I have checked and the answer is very clear. Answer is no. It's a trust which manages it. In some states, it is controlled by a deputy commissioner, or rather headed by a deputy commissioner, and largely the money remains within the. And I've checked about Karnataka also. I can see Mr. Pai vigorously nodding his, rather refuting that. But I've checked it today itself from the officer concerned that about the status of money utilization. The other issue was about iftar. I agree that state money should not be used for any such religious parties, or it should be used equally for all religions. For example, the Jammu unit of army does it for Eid, does it for Diwali. All festivals are organized at the army unit expense. It should be the same treatment. There has been a rightful uproar in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana that the state money should not be used for iftar parties. And they had to withdraw at once. President Kovind stopped iftar parties since, I think, 2017-18. So that's what I have to say about it.
Okay, before I go to the others, you are saying that government appoints committees that manage major religious places of worship. Haji Ali, Ajmer Sharif are two that you have named, and of course there are a number of Hindu temples which Mr. Nambiar has. Mostly Hindus, majority are Hindus. Okay, Mr. Pai. Lot of money there. Okay, Mr. Pai, go ahead, and then Professor Habib, and then Sherbir. Yes, go ahead.
Barkha, 114,000 temples are managed by the government in this country. I want the gentleman to show me how many of these dargahs and all are managed by government. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Second, as for this, committees, the committees and temples have no rights. They appoint a government official as an administrator. In Karnataka, a Muslim IAS officer was appointed administrator for the temples. People protested. I said, he's a government official. His religion is immaterial. If the government position is there, should be there. But then somebody pointed out in the Hindu Religious Endowment Act, only a Hindu can be appointed to the position. Now, there is a contradiction. Let us not take one event and say it happens to everybody. Which church is managed? Now, another point is, money from this temple collection is paid to the government in Tamil Nadu, which I'm sure Nambiar can talk about, for overheads and all kind of stuff. And then they use the money for infrastructure in the towns where the temples are situated. That is for everybody. Look, there is a mess. Let us agree it is a mess. What we need as a country is a set of rules where the states start withdrawing from management of religion, so that across all communities and religion, the states keep such a background back, and they allow the people of every community to manage their own religious affair with maybe some oversight. For example, there's the Shiromani Gurudwara Prabodhan Committee Act, right? The Sikh community manages their own Gurudwaras all over, but there's a law, and the law is there to prevent misuse. But the government doesn't mandate, appoint anybody and reduce. I'm sure Shegil will tell us about this, whether I'm right. But I think it's important for us to say we are in a particular state of contradiction because of historical reasons. Let us drop a list of things the state should not do and slowly ask the state to withdraw. And we as citizens should take over and manage religious affairs and make religion private. And the state should be kept further and further away with a rule of conduct for all politicians.
I couldn't agree more with everything that you've just said. I think a lot of us would agree with you. But Sherbir, do you want to just jump in on the SGPC example? I was actually going to raise it, when you were talking about Punjab, and the fact is that the SGPC is vastly influential, and they, it may be managing the affairs of religion, but it has a disproportionate influence on politics, as we know. So this separation, is it just a utopian dream for us in India, Sherbir?
I think so. Firstly, I think Mr. Pai's example is spot on, and religion needs to be sent back into private recesses, and state control of religion, barring ensuring the ability to profess and practice one's religion, should come to an end. In terms of the separation of church, state, temple, gurdwara, mosque, monastery, whatever, that separation has I think from the utopian ideal that of separation towards becoming political, Barkha, we've got examples galore, and I think in moments such as these, it's the constitutional guardrails that need to come in, and that is where, when government officials participate in religious events in their official capacities and not their private personal capacities, the separation and the guardrails are pushed to the brink.
Yeah, and Professor Habib, there's also a larger point of contemporary politics shaping this conversation. So that 6 years ago, the maximum comment that anyone would offer on the Kanwariyas was, either to participate and say, oh, this is a moment of my faith, or to say there's going to be a traffic jam because there's a Kanwar yatra going from point A to point B. How have we reached this point where, as Mr. Pai says, why is this a point of conversation? And I would argue it's a point of conversation because we're in consensus on one thing, or at least all 5 or 6 of us, that the state should be asked to retreat from the management of religion. But what we're not in consensus on is whether the state is presently being even-handed. Go ahead, Professor Habib.
You see, my issue is, we just saw some sort of a victimhood from Mr. Pai and Mr. Nambiar. Now, if Hindu temples are being controlled by the government, who is running the government? Now, why this control has not been taken over? Why the government has not liberated these temples? No, the Hindu majority, 80% majority, is in the grip of the state, and the Hindu state today, for the past 8 years, they should have released all the funds. Why are you raising these issues here? You should raise these issues with your government, and let the government release all these funds. If it is so,
it is
simple
presently,
and so easy.
It is presently everybody's government. It is
and
our government. Professor Habib, it is our government. Whether we voted, whoever voted for anybody, it's everybody's government to ask questions of.
I didn't mean in that sense. Yeah. I'm saying I'm not powerful enough. I'm a man who nobody listens to. In that context, I'm saying Mr. Nambiar is an important spokesperson. Mr. Pai is an important man. So that way I'm saying. Otherwise, I can, of course, it's a government for all of us. The point is, why compare all this with Islam all the time? I don't think Islam has its own issues, and I've raised them, because in Islam there is no institution of temple-like institution. These dargahs you are mentioning, there are few, and these dargahs are of Barelvi sect. Not all Muslims actually believe in these dargahs. Many of them actually hate these dargahs. So the point is that you don't have to really compare these temples with what is happening with Muslim
I think that's
dargahs or
I think
mosques,
that I think that's a fair
because
point.
mosques have hardly anything, because they are all bare. They have no property, they have no gold, they have no riches over there. So in that context, there is no control. There are few mosques which have some property, some shops here and there, but they are very
Yeah.
few. Otherwise, there is hardly anything. So that comparison hardly exists. So one should not always get into this comparison mode, because we are all the time into a conflict mode between Hindus and Muslims. You don't have
Yeah.
to really do that all the time.
What
Solve
is
problems of
disturbing you?
Hindus.
What is disturbing you when you see, because you clearly don't support namaz
Yeah,
in public spaces. You don't
absolutely not.
support it.
Absolutely not.
You have no. You're from Meerut. You have seen the
Yeah,
Kanwariyas pass through your city for years.
yeah, yeah,
What
yeah,
is
yeah,
what
yeah.
is disturbing you today then? What is disturbing you specifically
This is
today then?
today. The whole thing has been politicized. The religious event is a political event. The way the participation we see today, the way it is projected, the way civil servants are being allowed to participate in their uniform, because these things never happened before. Because these SPs and SSPs and DMs cannot do it without the government support. Obviously, they have been asked by somebody to do it, to go ahead
Yeah.
and do all this in their uniform. No, and I have no issues. They are all believers, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs. Like Sherbir said, let them go to the pilgrimage,
Okay,
do that
so let's
that
get
job
Mr.
on their
Nambiar
own.
there. Mr. Nambiar, the point Irfan Habib is making is, and Mohandas Pai and Sherbir and me, and Vilas Sanjeev, what he thinks, yes, we agree. Get the states out of religion. Are we willing to have this consistently said for all faiths?
Absolutely. In fact, I am for either the state should be away from the religion, and if they have nothing to do with the religion, and the religion should not be a business for them. And when I say this word business, I can give you enough proof. And unfortunately, Sanjeev ji don't even know the partial knowledge about it. With all due respect to your seniority,
What
sir,
did he
because
say
I've done.
wrong? What
No, I am
specific
talking
thing?
about all
Make
the
a
funds.
specific
All
point.
I'm coming to that. State governments, such as, for an example, Kerala Devaswam Board. In Kerala, they have got 3 Devaswam boards. That is called as the Travancore Devaswam Board, the Malabar Devaswam Board, and the one under the Kochi Devaswam Board. And other than that, there are specific some temples which has got their own specific Devaswam boards, like a Guruvayur or Shabarimala. They are very large temples. They have been confined as a one. All these money which is collected, even in during the calamity, which has the flood which took place, the money which has been transferred by the government has taken from the Devaswam board. I think about 20 crores. I don't know the figure exactly, 20 or 30 crores. There was some kind of a hue and cry. Then they said it belongs to the people, and this money is going to the people. And I am not against it. I think the temples are supposed to be the public place, and it is meant for the devotees. So please never say, and this is not only the Kerala. I said I can give you examples of Karnataka. And some of the mud which has taken over by the government, the monies have been used. Not only just the money in cash, Barkha. The problem why the people, we don't understand it, is the large amount of land which these temples hold. So they are
we got that point.
That's and now, most importantly, I am for if the governments across the country is ready to take over all the Muslim church, the masjids and the land, all the churches, all the gurudwaras, I am for it. But why only this treatment for the Hindus? And as Mr. Pai said, 1,14,000 temples have been taken over or controlled by the massive governments, irrespective of their faith. Yeah. Why is it only that? Another thing, the larger point which we need to today, we are living in a social media. Everything is live. We are seeing it. This tradition has been there. For the floral tribute or for floral showering of to the covered yatras, and similarly in many other yatras across the country, is been there not from today, more than hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Even in the older time, if you really look at the history, that people, the Rajas and Maharajas used to do these particular stuff. So we have a Sanatan Dharma and the culture of India. It is not like somebody, we have accepted every religion and every culture.
All
One
that
second.
we are saying. Let me
one
speak.
second I
Let,
wanted.
let,
I
let
just
me
wanted
at
to
least
I'll
okay.
conclude that. That's all.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
saying we as a civilization has accepted every religion, every culture, but that does not mean that I have surrendered my own identity as a
No
Hindu
one
culture,
is saying
Hindu
that.
civilization.
Okay.
And
Okay.
this is a part of my civilization. And
Okay.
people
Let me
who
calm it
are
down,
not
Mr.
ready to
Nambiar.
accept this needs to stay
No,
away. That's it.
no. I think the debate is also very much triggered by the images, not of Muslims and Hindus and Christians participating in each other's faiths and devotees being looked after. I think we've already been told that the management is a responsibility of the state, but whether we should see policemen in uniform, participating in the way that they have now, Mr. Gupta, a number of sort of critical questions for you. Please respond as briefly as you can because it's time to start closing the program. Go ahead, Sanjeev.
Yeah, okay. First and foremost, I did not make a sweeping statement about all temples across the country. I got this topic and I thought it was a related issue. So I checked about Karnataka, where there is a strong averment that most of the money is taken away by the state government. So here's the question which I asked the officer concerned who manages the entire temple issue there. Does any income from temple go to the state exchequer? No. Only a 5% common pool fund is collected from A-grade temples, again to be spent by the endowment department itself for purposes related to temples. As a deputy commissioner in Mandi in Himachal in 92-93, I have known about Chintapundi temples, about Kanga Devi temple. In 1984, this endowment act was enacted there. And what about 20 crore, etc., being used for the FIRS, etc., is concerned? This is again, I mean, in case of Himachal, at least where I have direct knowledge, it is spent by the trust itself and restricted to the catchment area of the temple. So there have been hospitals made out of the temple money. There have been schools made out of the temple money for the children in that area. So as I said, that there is a use for public related needs, but these are confined to the area. This is not that money is taken away. To the
Okay.
best of my knowledge, to the states I have studied, right? That was
Okay.
number one. The second was about why this uproar about flower petals. Frankly, there would have been none. There would have been no uproar had there not been these images of an old Muslim man offering namaz in a remote corner, and that too occasionally, not that he's doing it on a regular basis at a place. He's coming for a treatment or some travel. So those images have really heightened this contradiction and hence this reaction. But
Yeah.
yes, as a deputy commissioner, I would never go do all this. That in a temple, I would rather do my duty rather than do worship. In my
And I
private
think,
capacity, yes.
yeah, I think that's the point, Mr. Pai. You said in the beginning, somebody will tell these people not to do this. The point is, they've probably been told to do it. And should they be
Barkha,
doing it? Yeah.
Barkha, like I said, the fundamental problem in this country is we need a common civil code, so all of us are subject to the same civil laws in this country without distinction between religion or gender or any other denomination. All of us are equal citizens. Article 14 says so. It has to be made to work. That is the basis on which this constitution was put into effect. This republic was founded. Our founding fathers said we are all equal. Where is equality? That is the fundamental issue. Second thing is the state should keep away from religion. The state and religion should be distinct. I think that has to be very clear. It will take some time because politically, politics has been based upon creating fear among the Muslim community to say that if a political party comes to power, they'll be disadvantaged, which has been a fake narrative. And the third, I like what Professor Irfan said, that we are a Hindu state for the last 8 years. I hope we are a Hindu state. If we're a Hindu state, Hindus won't be discriminated. For 75 years, Hindus have been discriminated.
Why do you
No,
hope we're a
please,
Hindu
let me say
state?
this.
We were not
No, let me
created as
say
a
this.
Hindu state.
Barkha,
We were not
let me
created as
say
a
this.
Hindu state.
Barkha, let me say this. If the Hindu state, we won't have protection, we don't have special rights for minorities, we won't spend on minorities, we won't give minorities personal laws. And Professor Irfan says, oh, they become a Hindu state in 8 years. What nonsense is this? These are the kind of fake narratives which create anger. In this country, minorities get special rights, more money, and they got their own personal laws. Majority does not have all this. and they suffer because of control by the government. Now, whether the government belongs to BJP or NDA or Congress is the same. Why? Because it's a power structure. Government is a power structure.
But
we all are fighting against the
you have,
government.
but haven't you mixed up a lot of issues there? You have mixed up. You've mixed up a whole bunch of issues in your closing comments.
Because I'm responding to Professor Irfan Habib, because I'm very offended when he says last 8 years it become a Hindu state. I'm extremely offended here when he makes the remark, because this country has sacrificed a lot for the minorities. Those people the throat were cut. I didn't see Professor Irfan go and put a candle there and say, not in my name, not in my religion. I didn't see anybody do that. So I dislike this kind of comments where you pick on 79% of people who are generous.
By the way, there isn't
Hindu state. It should not be done.
Okay, by the way, there isn't a person I know, Muslim, Hindu, or otherwise, who defended or rationalized what happened in Udaipur. I think we were all aghast. But I'll let Professor Habib speak for himself. Professor Habib, closing comments. We can get into a political discussion forever, but that's not going to solve this conversation and this disagreement. Professor Habib.
You see, I just don't know from where did Mr. Pai heard this. I didn't say a Hindu state. I didn't even utter a word Hindu state. I said a government which supports the cause, the BJP, the whole agenda, which talks about interest of the majority, all sorts of things. I didn't say it's a Hindu state. Not even once.
I think the point you were trying to make, perhaps
these
Mr.
words
Pai,
are being put into my mouth. No, okay. I had no idea.
What did you want to say? Okay, what did you want to say? Let's have you say
that way. I never said it.
Okay,
I never said
go
it.
Ahead with your,
the point
go
is
ahead with your last thought.
that,
Go ahead
that
with
the
your
government, what I said was that this government, when it talks about lots of things which are of a religious connotation, there are lots of things are happening which were not happening before, can of course go ahead and take a decision to release all the funds from the temples, release them from the government control, because the previous governments didn't do it. So this government, I think, is better placed to do it.
Yeah.
In that context, I said it is going to protect the Hindu interests. That's all.
There's a party that believes and embraces Hindutva. Professor Habib here cannot solve the how temples are managed, right? That argument you have to take to Prime Minister Modi and the BJP.
He took it in a different context. I never meant that way.
Okay, Professor Pai, can we close with on a note of friendship, please, and a little bit of lightness?
See the record. Yes. See the recording. You can see the recording. You'll find I'm right. Barkha, let us end this by saying we need the state to distance itself from all religions. We need religion to be a personal affair for everybody. We don't want state controlling religious institution, and we have to make sure that equal respect for all religion is there as far as the state is concerned and people are concerned, and we have to build on goodwill. All right. I think that is what we all have to agree upon. And if we agree upon all that, I think it'll be fantastic.
Okay, let's leave it there. I think that we can agree on. I think we have differing perspectives on many other things, but that we all want the state out of religion and for religion to be restored to being a private matter that every citizen of India is free to practice equally is something that we must all agree on, because that is the idea with which India was born. Modern Indian state was born with that idea. Thank you very much, Sanjeev Gupta, Mohandas, Pai, Irfan, Habib, PKD Nambiar, and Sherbir, Panag, who had to leave just a minute earlier. And to our audience, see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.